All right, let's talk about TYT math. If you're gearing up for the exam, you know that the math section can feel like this massive, impossible mountain to climb. But what if you had a roadmap? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to lay out a step-by-step guide to help you conquer it. So let's dive right in.
First things first, let's be real. You look at that long list of topics, numbers, problems, geometry, functions, and it's just so easy to feel completely overwhelmed. Like, where do you even start? If you've ever felt that way, trust me, you are not alone. It's a super common feeling, but it's one we're about to fix right now.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the absolute bedrock, the foundation, which is all about numbers. Then we'll level up to the real challenge, problems. After that, we'll push into abstract thinking. And finally, we'll pull it all together to build your personal strategy.
Okay, Section 1, the foundation. I want you to think about this like building a house. You wouldn't even think about putting up the walls or the roof before you've poured a solid concrete foundation, would you? Of course not. The whole thing would collapse. Math is exactly the same. Mastering these core concepts first makes everything that comes later so much easier.
Now, these aren't just a random list of topics. These are the essential tools in your mathematical toolbox. This is literally the language of math. Understanding things like divisibility, absolute value, and exponents, it's like learning the grammar you need to understand every single question on the exam.
Let's just take exponents as a quick example. It's a pretty simple idea, right? Just a number multiplied by itself over and over. But really, truly getting how they work, all the rules for adding, multiplying them, that unlocks countless different problem types down the road. The big takeaway here is that mastering one small concept has this huge positive ripple effect across the board.
And here is a perfect illustration of how those tools come into play. Just look at the basic logic for solving any equation. Every single step here relies on those fundamentals we just talked about. Simplifying an expression, yep, you're going to need your rules for exponents and rational numbers. Isolating the variable, that's all about understanding your basic operations. This simple three-step process is where all that theory starts to become practice.
So let's move to our next section and see how this all builds. All right, welcome to what I like to call the main event of the TYT math exam, problems. This is where the test stops asking you, hey, do you know the rule? And starts asking, okay, can you actually use that rule to solve a real-world puzzle?
This quote just says it all, doesn't it? You could memorize every formula in the book, but word problems are the real test. They're the bridge that connects your foundational knowledge to practical application. And honestly, this skill is what the TYT is designed to measure more than anything else.
At first, it can seem like there are a million different types of problems. But what if we just group them by their core idea? Age problems? They're really just about tracking change over time. Percentage problems are all about comparing things proportionally. And speed problems? That's just a relationship between distance, time, and speed. Once you focus on the core logic, they become way less intimidating.
And why is this section just so critical? Because on any TYT exam, you can expect somewhere between 10 and 15 questions to be problems. I mean, that is a massive chunk of your total score. You simply cannot get a high score without becoming a confident problem solver. This section is completely non-negotiable.
Okay, so you've built your foundation, and you're getting comfortable applying it to all sorts of problems. Now it's time to tackle the final hurdles. These are the topics that require a slightly different, more abstract way of thinking. This is where you really start to think like a mathematician.
This chart kind of helps put everything into perspective. You see? We've already covered the huge chunks, the numbers in algebra, and the problems. Now we're looking at geometry and these other advanced topics. They might be smaller slices of the pie, but mastering them is what pushes a good score into a great score.
Let's look at a classic example here, permutations versus combinations. So many students mix these up, but the difference is actually incredibly simple. You just have to ask yourself one question. Does the order matter? If you're picking a president and a vice president, order matters, right? That's a permutation. If you're just picking a committee of 3 people, order doesn't matter at all. That's a combination. It's really as simple as that.
And this kind of abstract thinking applies to all these other areas too. Things like sets, functions, probability, and of course geometry. These aren't just separate subjects. They all build on that same foundation of logic and problem solving that we've been talking about this whole time. Think of them as the capstone on top of your mathematical pyramid.
So now that we understand the whole structure of TYT math, we can get to the most important part, building your strategy. This isn't about some one-size-fits-all plan. It's about you creating a personal roadmap that actually works for you.
The entire logic of what we've talked about today really boils down to this simple flow. First, you build your foundation with numbers. Second, you master application by solving tons of problems. And third, you reach for that advanced level with the abstract topics. That's your path. You just can't skip the steps.
And here are some final, really practical tips. Before you do anything else, make that foundation rock solid. Make solving problems a daily habit, even if it's just for 15 minutes. Follow the logical order we've laid out. And maybe most importantly, get obsessed with your mistakes. Every single wrong answer is a lesson just waiting to be learned.
We've laid out the map for you, from the basic concepts all the way to the most advanced topics. We've shown you the path from theory to practice. The roadmap is now in your hands. So the only question left is, what's your first step going to be?